Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because I think that obviously with your great history in producing recruitment technology in the Netherlands, right? You've become obviously a well-known, prominent figure in the space, which uh, might be something worth talking about. Like, how is it?
Yeah.
How does it feel to be a person that has kind of already made impact in the recruitment technology scene? And how has that helped you? Would you say in your current iteration here? In fact, no. Before we even get into this, because we want to talk about it, but let's just say hello to the crowd firstly.
Sure.
Welcome everyone to Founders Focus. This is episode 52. This is my favorite thing to do because speaking to recruitment tech entrepreneurs is something that is such an educational process for me. These are the people that are not satisfied with the state of recruitment as it is, such that they think it's a good idea to try and set up a recruitment technology business to try and solve these problems. So today, I think this is the final episode of the year. I'm going to be with Matthijs Metzemaekers. I hope that I pronounced your name okay.
Perfectly.
Founder of Carv. Matthijs, great to have you on the show.
Thank you
And
for
yeah,
having me.
we were just talking about your history. And of course, this is not your first time doing recruitment technology. So I wonder sort of what your feelings were when you decided, okay, I'm going to give this another shot. Like, why did you want to do it again?
Well, that's a good question. Well, first of all, maybe it's good. But the company we built before was a company called Harvard. We were market leader in high volume hiring technology. And we started that company from Europe, and that we built it out in the US. We worked, basically, we took over all the hiring process from Harvard to hire, as we called it, for large enterprises like all the big call centers, WeWork, Peloton, Netflix, big companies. And we built that company in, I would always say, the advanced analytics hype. Started in 2015. Everyone wanted to do something with data and technology, and Harvard was one of the platforms that was in that space, and we managed to make that a very, I think, prominent player. And the company was acquired by one of our biggest competitors in the US. And to be fair, afterwards, me and my business partner Barent, we thought, I'm done with the recruiting space, because after 10 years and like so many issues and problems, we thought it's actually time for something completely new. And also because we thought the state of recruitment technology has come to a point where we are optimizing processes for 5 or 10% better, ATS features, maybe sourcing tools here and there. But will there be, like, on a short term, a real big new innovation? And we thought, nah, we think the recruiting is done. But when when OpenAI released DaVinci 3.5, we thought, wow, we've been spending so much time with thousands of recruiters all across the globe, the best recruiters there are from the most beautiful brands. And their biggest frustration was always, they said to us, hey, we spend so much time on things that are not about humans. I became a recruiter to connect with people. But if I look at my day to day, I'm connecting more with systems and my laptop than with humans. So all the possibilities that these new language models gave us to basically take away or take over tasks from humans with AI, we thought this is so incredibly useful for recruiters. So we found this new inspiration and motivation to build a company to solve fundamental problems for recruiters. And that was the whole motivation to start Carv. And we took some time to build the product, but we released it at the beginning of this year. And I'm incredibly happy to see the first things going really well for our clients all across the globe.
This is fantastic. There's so many entrepreneurs that I've spoke to that got like so excited when sort of really OpenAI kind of made that
Yeah.
big breakthrough. I remember speaking to a CTO who said he hadn't felt like this since the web first started, because suddenly he was enthusiastic about working over the weekend and cracking through,
Yeah.
because it was so thrilling for a product builder to get involved. So was there anything for the people out there who may kind of think that, okay, this is just another sort of iterative process in software development. Why are people so thrilled about it? Could you sort of explain to them what makes this moment different from a product building point of view?
You mean the wave of the new possibilities with AI, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. I think, well, maybe I can connect it to a question that many recruiters and recruiting leaders also ask me in conversations. The first thing they always ask is, will humans be replaced by AI? Will recruiters be replaced by AI? I think it's the most heard question. And I can connect that to what I think is so fundamentally different with this technology. So, first of all, if you look at how recruiting was working, like let's say 3 years ago, and the 20 years before that, we built technology to automate workflows of humans. So look at a technology like an ATS. It's a workflow optimization platform. So you have technology that actually helps humans to optimize their workflow, but you still work in a system. If humans are not doing their job well in their ATS, for example, if you have a whole field structure to map data in your ATS, but humans don't fill in the fields correctly, you still don't have, it doesn't have any value for you because it will be an empty system. That's the big frustration of a lot of ATSs currently. But what's different with AI, it's the first time that we can actually train technology to do work for you. So you're not optimizing a workflow anymore. You're giving a system, a technology, a task to execute that for you. So will recruiters be replaced by AI? No, AI will not replace humans, but AI will take over tasks of humans. So there is this absolute new relationship between technology and human, where you collaborate with it instead of in it. And I think that's the biggest thing, for the biggest revolution, I think, with these new possibilities, with these language models, collaborating with technology in a complete new way.
I think you've described it in a way I've never heard before, Matthijs, and I really like the idea of prior to AI, human beings had to be within a technology system.
Yeah.
This is what a dashboard is. We're navigating through it. That is fixed. We have to work into the system. It doesn't feel there's any flexibility there.
No.
However, with AI, we're not in it. We're actually collaborating with it. So we have sort of a very different sort of feeling. We are talking to the system, and the system hopefully is responsive to our requirements, and it's actually able to go ahead and execute these actions. And it looks like increasingly sophisticated actions it can perform.
Absolutely, that's well put.
Fantastic stuff. Let's rewind back before we get back into product, Matthijs. Young Matthijs, 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, however young you were, did you ever feel that running a business was going to be part of your destiny, or was it sort of something that just happened on your journey as a professional? What was the early stage like, Matthijs?
Well, I'm a pretty stubborn person, and also when people go left, I want to go right, and the other way around, I think. So when I finished my school, I decided not to go to university. I thought, like, I just want to, like, I felt like it's going to slow me down. I'm going to just go out in the world and explore. And I always wanted to do something for myself. And I just believed I just going to go out there and see and create. So I think
was that a scandalous decision at the time? Was it difficult for you? And sort of because a lot of people at that stage might have thought, obviously everyone goes to university.
Yeah.
How did you? Was it difficult at the time? Conversation with parents and so.
Yeah. That was not fun. Actually, I think it was one of the most difficult conversations with my dad. He's a doctor, so I was like, that's a complete different world. He didn't understand it. But I always say I come from a really good family. I'm really blessed with like a very happy youth and upbringing. So I think I had the confidence that I could do it, and I'm always like mindful of that and aware of that. Yeah, I just had felt like I have my own path. So I just started going out and meet people, and on that journey, in the end, I also met Barend, and that's how we started collaborating together. And that resulted in setting up a few beautiful companies. And yeah, still feel like it was the right thing for me, but I would never recommend it to someone. That's it's pretty atypical.
That's a really interesting position. I mean, I think everyone, obviously, I'm sure your father now recognizes what a fantastic decision it was to make, and probably how difficult it was to make as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old kid or whatever. You're very obviously young in your life, and you need to make these big decisions. I'm sure a lot of people might have said, hey, why don't you just make this decision when you're 22, 20, do the university, graduate, and then make the decision. So I think extremely brave for you to do that, and full credit for you to make that decision early. I want to explore why you think it's a bad advice for people to follow, though, because you've succeeded. Other people might say, "Hey, why is he saying I shouldn't do this?" What prompted you to say this, Matthijs?
Yeah, no. Generally speaking, I think it's not a bad idea to go to school and to finish finish education, and I think that's just something I would always recommend. By the way, but yeah, I think it's something if you want to build something, you want to do something for yourself, you will feel it, and you don't need any recommendations. So if people ask me for recommendations, I think you should probably go to university or to whatever. And other people will be stubborn enough to not even ask for a recommendation. That's my theory.
That's really, really interesting observation as well. So if you ask for advice, generally speaking, you might as well go to kind of the consensus view generally, because that makes the most sense. But if you have a burning passion, that it's almost like an itch you have to scratch, then anything that stops you from doing that is probably a bad move.
Yeah, I mean, it's about growth and learning, right? And I always thought I need to put myself always in a position where I can grow and learn. And I have one rule for myself. If I look back on myself 1 year ago, I want to feel, oh, if I would do everything today as I would do it 1 year ago, everything would go wrong. And that's, I think, a feeling of growth, that you feel like, hey, I've constantly develop myself and evolve myself. And you can do that in many ways. University or going to school is just one of the ways to do that. But yeah, I took a job in a field marketing company and started leading a team and learned things about leadership. That's also growth. I mean, that were things I would never learn in school, but I maybe missed things that I would learn in school. So I think it's all about that. If you feel like in the current society, and I believe if you're developing yourself and you feel that you can grow yourself, I think you don't need the traditional path anymore. Hey, if you don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer, I think that's obviously a complete different route.
Yeah, very interesting. And the certain sort of routes that you mentioned, are very academic. They're very structured. Typically, these are the professional services, the doctor, lawyer, that type of journey. There's actually multiple structures that you have to go into, very similar to as we were talking about software. You have to submit to these systems, otherwise you cannot actually graduate, you cannot be qualified to do that particular role, and that suits some types of personality, doesn't suit others. You need to have a different type of mindset. Do you look for entrepreneurial mindset when you're recruiting into the team, Matthijs? Like, what's your attitude to that? Because some people might say, you know what, it's great to hire entrepreneurial people, but then other people say, yeah, but the guy wants to be an entrepreneur, so I want him in the team. So how do you balance the innovation that you get from someone who's sort of entrepreneurial compared to the need for that person to actually do a particular function in the team? How do you handle that as a hiring manager?
Yeah, well, of course, I will not. It's difficult to say because there is not one single source of truth. I always say I'm very mindful of whatever decision you take. There are multiple ways, many ways to get to something. So I think it's never this. There are multiple ways to Rome. So I think that's a good maybe stance to always take also with the teams, to not say my way or the highway, but I think we have a pretty atypical approach to that as well, because I think Barend is exactly the same. If something's written in a book and it says you should do it like this or that, I mean, it's not something that I would completely always absorb. I think you have your own stance and you always look in this situation, what does it require here? But I do think we steer the company in an entrepreneurial way, like maybe it's an open door, but like the move fast and break things mentality. And sometimes you break the rules of what you should do in a perfect management situation, or I would also love to make a 5-year plan with quarterly goals and like, but yeah, that doesn't work like that in a startup. Just that's what the lessons I learned. And even we worked with Harvard, with the biggest investors in the world, and they even said to us like, make a 6 months plan and don't even like bother too much about what happens after. So I'm still on that track too. But I also learned that I'm not the perfect manager. So, for example, now for marketing and sales teams, we have great people who manage the team in a way that they are doing it much better than I would do. But I think we can protect the vision of the company and put that like next milestone in the sand and push the whole team towards that point.
Yeah, very interesting about having those short-term goals. It kind of reminds me of the sort of almost weekly cadence that you need to have, because it keeps the momentum. Sometimes if you have a long-term plan, then of course there's always tomorrow where that can be done. And I wonder whether that does slow things down somewhat. So interesting to have that sort of balance. Having said that, you do need to have a direction, don't you? Like you need to have some sort of end game or some sort of vision as to what that's like. As a founder of the company, I guess that might be your responsibility to be clear on that direction.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that the rest of the team understands that, or is it in fact not important that they understand their direction, and in fact they just got to focus on the short-term deliverables? What's your attitude to that?
Yeah, I think you need to have the long-term vision. So you need to make sure, for example, if you look at the AI space now with Carv, you can have this vision of, hey, we believe that recruiters will work completely in sync with AI, and we just want to take all tasks over from a recruiter that are not about connecting with humans. So with candidates, with hiring managers, or with clients, if you're an agency. So that is a vision. Like you can say all the tasks around a recruiter, if you're the product team, that are not about that, just make sure that we remove them. And that should be the collaboration between the recruiter and AI. But obviously, we need to make sure and need to be aware that the change, like the speed of which the technological possibilities are currently increasing, they are increasing much faster than the change velocity of humans. Mm-hmm. So we should always keep that in balance. Like, what are people able to absorb today? What can people currently do? Where does a recruiter feel comfortable with? I always give this example of the airplane. We can already like fly with an Airbus from Paris to New York on autopilot. The problem is without a pilot, but the problem is that people don't feel safe if there's no pilot in the cockpit. And I think that's where we are currently. I think many things in recruiting we can already do, but recruiters or companies will not feel safe if we hand those tasks over to AI. So back to your question, we need to have that vision and the end goal. This is what we want to achieve. But then you break down, but what are the steps we take to get there? And that should be a combination of in which way are humans able to adopt it, and in which ways are companies able to implement these things in their company. And then you need to go back to how do we solve a daily problem, a problem that everyone recognizes today. And that's also what we do with Carv. The possibilities that we currently have to take over all those tasks, to take over sourcing, to take over many more things in the process. It's all already possible, but I can tell you no one will buy it tomorrow. It is how can you make companies a little bit more comfortable with that? Same with Harvard. When we started Harvard in the advanced analytics period, we could already make a hiring decision with our data much better than humans. But back then, people looked at resumes and relied on resumes. I could go in the market and say, hey, this technology will do it better for you. No one would have accepted it or would have bought it. But what we did is, hey, we have this extra data point for you here. So next to the resume, look at this data point too, and you can still make your call. After 6 months, people started calling us, hey, we're going to drop the resume and can you please just in my ATS implement this matching score and make it we can even auto reject candidates. We already knew that it was possible, but humans had to get to that point of comfortable level of comfort. And that's now with AI happening again. So the long-term vision is take over all these tasks, become completely zero admin, but we need to today look at things that are just solving a daily problem for them.
I love the vision. I mean, this is exactly what I mean by vision, folks. It's just having the two lines that describe what the purpose of the company is. And as I heard from you, Matthijs, it's basically every touch point where the recruiter isn't speaking to a human being. That's an automatable opportunity. But guys typing something in to a system, he's updating a system, he's all that stuff. Some AI co-pilot can and should do that. What is preserved for the human is the human-to-human connections, where we may prefer a human being. So it may not be even a case that the human being does it better. We simply prefer it. So the service delivery, we want the human to do it. I'm actually reminded of coffee shops. I mean, sometimes you go to a coffee shop, it's like, listen, at some point there'll be a completely automated coffee shop. Right, there'll be a coffee shop that you literally, there's no human being. You simply order. It'll make a perfect coffee for you because it will never make a mistake. But I wonder whether that would be popular, because we kind of like to see a barista do it and have the guy grind the beans and stuff.
Yeah. So, and I also think this is an interesting one. I think if you look at the news now, or if you go to a recruiter event, everyone says AI will take over humans. AI will turn us into robots. But if you look at a recruiter, we could almost conclude that a recruiter is a robot currently. It is like the 21st century assembly line. You're behind your laptop doing interviews all day. You're typing the information in the system. So I believe actually we are robots today, and AI is going to make these people humans again. AI can make recruiters humans again. And that is our mission. I think we can do that, and it's really possible.
You're coming out with some really zinging marketing lines here, Matthijs. AI is going to make us human again. That's a fantastic way.
I hope it's more than marketing.
No, but it really, I don't say this to diminish marketing. I mean it because it lands well, because there is this fear component with AI. There is, and maybe legitimate, because it is big change, right? No one likes to be, no one can accurately predict what change of this scale is going to mean. But the line helps us understand the possibility that there may be an optimistic future here, which is very, very exciting indeed. So the sort of recruiting work that is most preservable or most reservable for human beings. Can you describe for us sort of what does that look like? We can kind of guess, but I'd love to hear from a product maker's point of view where you think, you know what, sure, we probably will never replace this component. What are those components?
What we do replace, or what we do not replace?
What you do not replace or cannot replace.
Yeah, so I would say let's start with what we can replace, and then we can drill down to what you cannot replace. So I think if you want to replace something, I think you should start with what people don't like, and what people just don't do well. And I think let's first of all, why is recruiting such an amazing space to innovate with AI is because it's 90% unstructured data. So why? It's conversations. It's all about talking. So interviews with candidates, interviews with hiring managers, conversations with the business about vacancies, all talk. So what we do, if you zoom out, we talk. We put that into notes, because that conversations are unstructured. We put it into notes. We try to give it some structure. Then we put it into a job description, more structure than that. And in information about interviews, we make notes and we put it into an ATS or a CRM. So that part is 30% of the total time of a recruiter. Just simply putting unstructured information that's vaporware normally the moment it ends. I just said this. I just said it, but now it's gone, unless I put it somewhere. That is something we can easily automate. So that is what AI does. We are part of those conversations. We train AI. Hey, every connection that we have with a hiring manager or a candidate, AI is transforming that to a model, automatically pushing that to your field structure in your CRM, or into a job description. It's just taking that all out. No recruiter. We have this tagline with Carv. I love updating my ATS. Said no recruiter ever. Nobody likes it. That's why it's done badly. So I think what we should replace are things that people don't like and where they are bad at. That are those admin tasks. What you cannot replace, in my opinion, is going back to the pilot example in the Airbus. Would you see this interview bots? I think, is it possible to run a perfect interview with a bot? Yeah, for sure. Is it easy? Yeah, pretty easy if you spend some time on that and you can do it pretty well. But the question is, if you are an engineer, or if you are a senior PM, or if you want to, your work is not something that's just ticking the box of, hey, can I answer a question well or not? I'm connecting myself to a company, a business. The definition of a company, if you look at the dictionary, is a community of people that try to achieve common goals. It is a community of people. So I want to be connected to people. So I want to connect with real humans to feel, to not just rationally think, did I say something right or wrong? I want to emotionally feel, is this the place where I want to be? That's what we can never replace. That's why I believe AI is this buddy on the shoulder that takes over all those tasks that are not about emotions and that are just about humans trying to transfer information from left to right. But the connection with each other, that's how you make a real hiring decision for yourself as a candidate. So when we talk about this topic, companies should not only look at their own internal efficiencies, but they should look at through the eyes of the candidate. It's a big life decision to change a new employer. I don't want to do that with a bot. What you can do is pre-selection. If you're for high volume roles, just can you work on Mondays or Saturdays? Hey, qualification questions. We can even do that with phone conversations now, completely AI driven. We can also do that with Carv. Look, it's great, but the human touch will always be critical. We will not replace that.
I think this is the distinction between a job and a career, isn't it? So all of there's loads of jobs out there. You know, when we talk about jobs, it means, you know, you need to work tomorrow. Let's do a job. Let's get it out there. Yeah, sure. You don't need high human touch for that because you're not actually committing to a career with this. You're just exchanging time for money. You know, great. Let's go ahead and do that. But when you're joining a company, I love the phrasing again, Matthijs, where you say you're connecting to a social group. You know, if I'm joining Carv tomorrow, as an example, you know what? I need to know more than just the bullet points on the job. I need to know who the people are, what the, you know, how people operate there, what the general even vibe is, all of that sense, the intuitions and stuff like this. You cannot replace that with a bot. And even if a bot was deployed, that itself tells you a great deal about what the vibe is. Which will again inform that decision. So we probably have neglected to understand that businesses are social organizations. We kind of process them as if they're just completely efficient business, you know, machines, but they're not. They're made of biological entities, human beings, that get together and do stuff. So that is something that's well worth remembering. It seems that there may be an entire category of information we've never captured when it comes down to what is business success.
No, and I think what's even, if we talk about recruiting, the job of a recruiter, also one of the motivations and inspirations to start Carv. We spoke with Harvard. We worked for the biggest companies, and HR leaders were always buying our product. It was not a product with Harvard that you sell to like a recruiter. You sell it into the board of WeWork, of Netflix, the big companies, and always the leaders ask this question: how can I make this recruiting job inspiring and attractive again? Because it's so hard to find great people that still have this real inspiration for this job. And I understand why. Because there was a disconnection between, if you look at the recruiter job today, it became a process job. You almost need to be better in managing systems and being able to work in a structured process than being able to really connect with people and to have those real people skills, to take time for people, to really connect. So that was so cool about Carv when I thought, hey, if we can take away those process-driven tasks and we can actually let the humans that are really want to connect with people shine again, we can enable leaders to hire the profile they really want to hire. And that's what we already have clients, that the way they are now looking at the recruiter job, they're willing to put out a different profile. Now they have this new AI companion. And to me, that is a cool thing. That's going to have so much impact on candidates.
Okay, this is really interesting. So you're saying that the availability of the technology is already changing the sorts of skills companies look for in recruiters.
Of course. Yeah.
So let's break this down. So previously we might say a recruiter might be tasked to be like a great Boolean searcher, let's say, as someone who's like amazing at finding candidates and so on. Perhaps AI helps with this. What's the changes that you've observed with regards to recruiter jobs? What is going up? What is going down in terms of the skills that employers seem to be looking for with this AI context we have now?
Yeah. So if you're looking at the recruiter, imagine you are a agency recruiter, let's say that, and you're basically a salesperson. So if I talk to a leader of a recruiting agency and I ask, what does it require to be successful here? The person would say, you need to be able to build pipeline. You need to be able to build long lists. Then I want you to have a very structured way. How do you build sequences? How do you reach out to people? And then when you talk to people, how do you manage your database? How you're able to update your own CRM? And like it has nothing to do with humans. So the fun part is all those things where you need to be good at, AI is better at it. So that whole structure of building lists, reaching out, building the perfect reach out email, then updating all that information in the field structure in the ATS, then make sure that you can search in your ATS based on the right criteria. That are all tasks humans are now doing. And by the way, the recruiters that are scoring the best do that really well. There are really good recruiters that take so much time for humans and to connect with candidates. But if you take that time, you probably lose time to do that stuff. But it's necessary to make the best hire. So I believe the quality of hire will go down. So now we can say, hey, all those tasks, let AI take that over. And I would always start, not with the sourcing part of it, but I would start with the things that recruiters do not like, which is currently the whole admin-related tasks around interviews. Then we free up their time to connect with humans. And a great recruiter that loves that people connection will not be that drawn to the job. If you're in your first 2 weeks and you just see, hey, this is 60-70% like sales. And if I want to be in sales, I can be account executive, make triple the money, but I don't want to be there because I want to be in that human, that HR type of space. So that's where the disconnect is, I believe.
Really interesting. I mean, when you describe that recruiter job, it may well be that we've always like penalized individuals who are very, very good at the human side of the job, because they spent the time dealing with the human beings, probably as neglecting a little bit of the administration. And in fact, they may have performed, quote unquote, worse, given the measures that we had previously put into place. Now we've got new tooling. Those people may suddenly blossom and become the elite recruiters now, because actually it doesn't make a difference whether you're particularly good at managing a CRM.
I think this movement will not go in 2 or 3 months. This will take some time, but with AI it will go really fast. But let's maybe, if we look further back in the recruiting job, before we had the internet and we LinkedIn, the headhunter was someone who would secretly sneak into the building of a tech company and would sit there and in a notebook write down who was working there. And so you had to be a really good like researcher, networker. You would go to events, meet people. Oh, there's a new guy. You would map organizations out. Complete different skill than when LinkedIn came up. Those people that were good at that, they disappeared. I mean, they didn't like LinkedIn. They liked networking, and probably those people became executive search firm leaders, or they went into a complete different like partner or other world where you could network all the time and do that skill well and let that skill flourish. Now we are in this point where the period where we come from, the process structured recruiter, the worker, those tasks will be taken over by AI. So the new wave of good recruiters, I mean, will go much closer to the essence of being human-centric and people-focused than like the wave we had with all process and workflow automation.
That's a really good. I mean, so you should write a history of this, Matthijs, because I love this trajectory. I mean, for folks who've kind of been around pre-internet or pre-LinkedIn, at least, that's exactly what it was. It was a lot of deep sleuthing. It was a lot of networking. It was a lot of stuff writing into notepads. It was not to do with like the ease of finding candidates. Basically, LinkedIn completely changed how easy it is to surface up certain types of candidates, and suddenly all of those deep sleuthing skills disappeared. So we have AI that potentially removes a lot of the database admin. I guess that's one of the ways in which we could describe it. And suddenly we need to the difference. How do you get competitive advantage as a recruiter is going to go back to that sort of undocumented information that, you know, that people don't know. Just to give you an example here, a lot of the most important bits of information that exist within recruitment are often undocumented. You know, when you go and have a beer with a senior contractor, for instance, and he or she tells you, yeah, actually, we think this is going to happen. Of course, it's not documented. It's like before it's publicly officially released. That type of intelligence is what's going to give recruiters that particular edge. That's true in third-party recruiting, but I think also going to be increasingly the case for internal recruiters as well. Okay, very, very good. Let's talk about sort of the sort of company management, company leadership here, Matthijs. You're working as a co-founder. How does that relationship work? A lot of people say, you know what, great to have co-founders. Other people say, yeah, it is, but you know, who makes the decision? How do you make? How do you do conflict resolution? You know, all those types of things. And sometimes we've seen it break down. You know, the founders can't deal with it, and it kind of goes wrong. So, how have you maintained this? What is the philosophy between you and Barant? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, well, you're right. I love to build together. I think it's just makes, for me, it's personally just more fun. A lot of founders who build for the first time do an exit and they think I can do it the second time. Why would I give away 50% of the shares to a co-founder if I can do it myself? But I'm not like that at all. I feel like building and creating is, you do it together, and I love to build with great people. There is one thing I just found myself when I'm like down or like not seeing it, he's up. And when you balance each other out, there's another thing. We had completely different people. So my skill set and his skill set are completely different. So we think we have the same morals on how you build a company, but we have a completely different skill set, and it just works really well together. So there, for me and for him, there was never a doubt that if we would do another journey, we would do it together again. And we, by the way, built our financial leader, Jeffrey, is also part of the company, who was basically the one who cleans up all the mess we create. So you need that too. So I think it's a great balance that we have.
How do you sort of, a lot of people out there that I speak to are entrepreneurs that are unwillingly by themselves. So in other words, they struggle to find the co-founder. They want to find this person, but and in fact, they often ask me to say, Hung, do you know anybody that could really co-found this? And I can't come up with an answer to that. How should an entrepreneur tackle this if they are looking for a co-founder? Does it actually work that way, or is it, do you have to just get lucky, man? I mean, how do you feel about this one?
I think probably you have to get lucky too, but I think you will. I can just tell you how I met Barent and how I've always operated myself. So, and I don't know if that works for other people, but maybe it's an inspiration. I just thought when I started for myself, I thought I've met people in my life, and I need to make a list purely based on intuition. Which people did I meet that I felt like I need to do something with them? I need to at least talk again to them in the business sphere. And I just did that. I just called them up and just started talking. And I think it's most important that you don't share. You can share the passion for a new idea. That's not hard to find, because if you have a good idea yourself, you can probably light someone, and you are on fire, you can probably light someone else's fire too. But I think it's really important that you feel like we have the same morals and the same values on how we look at building. That is really important, because you can have the same vision, but if you don't agree on how to get to a certain point, it's going to be a pretty tough journey. And if that is not going well, it's not a fun ride. We also had our struggles. Also with starting Carv again, like you come from a completely different journey. You need to like find out how is this new structure going to work again. And then you need to be, you need to in the end be able to go through that. But there is no playbook to find a co-founder. I think it's just, yeah, that's really tough, I think.
I disagree, Matthijs. You've just given me one. The idea of keeping a mental database of people that you want to have a further conversation with, I think could be one of the best techniques. So I've just realized that this is probably something I should do, where there's no necessarily an agenda per se. It's not like this person is immediately sort of, you're already trying to process whether this person is a future co-founder. No, that's not your thinking. Your thinking is, you know what? I've had a really good conversation or a great connection with this individual. I'm definitely going to find a reason to keep this person around in my life in some way. Let's at least have a conversation. Let's find a way to reconnect. I think if you did that, if everyone did this, I think you'll have many more opportunities. Just randomly, it'll feel like a random sort of occurrence, but more opportunities will come your way if you just built that practice. Wonderful concept. I'm going to ask you, how did you come up with this? Was it again something that's just emerged from your own sort of personality, or did you read about it? Like, how did you come up with this concept?
No, I think it's just in the end, not specifically a concept. I think it's more, I think that's part of my just who I am. Just I like to go out and meet people.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Let's future focus to future of Carv. Where are we now? You've started, I believe, just the start of this year, right? So this is less than a year that it's been around. Where are you currently in terms of customers, the people who use it, etc.? Where are we going to be in 12 months' time in your projection?
Yeah, so it took us some time to build a product. We had some hiccups there to find the right focus. And also the possibilities with the new language models. Obviously, we had to keep up with that. But indeed, we commercially launched this product for the recruiting space in the beginning of this year. We now have customers all across the globe. Obviously, our network in the Netherlands was the first bump of customers that we can connect to, but now we have customers in the US, in the UK. Obviously, US and UK will be big markets for us. Our plan is in the new year to open our office in the US. We did that before, obviously, with Harvard, so we know that market really well. I think what's the most exciting thing is that we, from a distribution perspective, we have huge partnerships with the ATSs already in the books with Bullhorn, with Recruit CRM, also more local players with many customers. But our plan is in the new year to add many more of those partnerships. We believe that AI should work in the workflow, so we are not going to build our own ATS. So this partnership with the ATSs are critical. So in the new year, you can expect deeper integrations with those platforms that recruiting teams do not have a long implementation time or complex change in workflow to embrace AI and to make it part of their day-to-day. So it should really be quick. And in a few weeks, you should be up and running. And you can literally connect to Carv. And in a few weeks, you don't do all those admin tasks anymore. It's taken over by a system. All works in your ATS. So I think what you can expect from us is that we invest a lot in that next year, a lot of partnerships. And I'm expecting what will come up is that we go one step deeper in the workflow, where we are now taking over all these admin tasks, writing the notes, filling in those fields in the ATS, writing job descriptions. But I expect in the new year that we will take over the engagement part too, so that you can literally, if you have a CRM with 30,000 people, that Carv can just on autopilot 24/7 connect with these people, not based on their resume or an email or a vacancy, but based on all the conversations that you had with those people, like a real human would do, with the goal to just start connecting and schedule interviews with them. So I expect that we will go one layer deeper into the workflow of the recruiters, again, to take over that high volume, low value work that they should not be doing, to let them focus on the human connection.
Yeah, I call those people like pre-acquired candidates, right? So every
Yep,
company out
exactly.
there that has tens of thousands of records, they're just sitting there. We might occasionally hit them with an email merge or something, but obviously that gets ignored.
Yeah.
And pretty much it's wasted effort. But you're saying that what we might expect in 2025 is some function which enables us to deploy, if you like, a co-pilot to interact with each of those candidates and then
Yeah.
respond to them in such a way
Yeah.
that makes most sense.
Yeah, and I would always only say the high volume, low impact work, because if it takes you 100 reach out to your talent pool to get one interview, and the human should do that, I think that's one. Again, it's not fun for a recruiter, and it's very highly inefficient. So that's something we can take over. But I do believe in the approach where I think the risk what companies currently take is that they go with point solutions in the whole recruiting journey. You have your ATS and you have a tool for sourcing, you have a tool for meeting notes, you have a tool for engagement, and we try to bring it all together in one platform. But I do think that this approach of really letting AI taking over tasks, especially on the engagement side, I'm a big fan to make it a solution that is all connected. So not 4 or 5 tools to solve one problem. And with Carv, we want to make that happen. So we are part of all the conversations. We map those conversations. We write it back in your ATS so that you can easily search on it. But when we start the engagement, we use that data to actually do relevant engagements. So if you have a candidate in your system you spoke to last month, and the first 5 minutes it was about the candidate who has a dog that had to go to the hospital, I want in the reach out, I want the first interaction maybe to be, hey, Kelly, we spoke 2 weeks ago. I hope your dog is doing well, instead of AI coming up with, hey, I saw you went to this university. But I think that is something that can only work if solutions are connected, and if you don't have too many vendors trying to solve the same problem.
Yeah, and all of this will appear within the ATS, is what I'm hearing as well, right? So, as a user, I'm just going to use my ATS, and suddenly I'm going to get this functionality. Is it white labeled within the ATS, Matthijs, or do I see Carv branding?
Depends per ATS. For example, in Bullhorn, we have an embedding where you can literally work. Carv is really fully functional in Bullhorn, and others we have more API integrations where we just extract and push data. But in my reality, the ideal way of working is that you can expose some features to the ATS via an embedding. But hey, it should all in the end serve the workflow of the recruiter, and that's something we closely look at with the team.
Yeah, very good. I'm already thinking that, hey, we could go beyond recruiting with something like this. You know, some obviously things would be, okay, can we use this as a sales tool, for instance? It seems like that kind of customization, because again, sales CRM, I mean, CRM came from sales, right? So is that a future direction for you, or do you think actually, no, we're going to focus on the recruitment side?
It's actually an interesting one. I think if you look at CRM functionalities, recruiting is sales in many ways, sales and marketing. So we can learn from it. But I expect that we connect the CRM function to clients for agencies, for example. So because recruiting agency, the relationship with the client and the candidate and the recruiter is so close and so obvious. So if you look at Bullhorn, why is Bullhorn an agency ATS? Because they also represent the client in their system. So I do think that Carv will have a client representation. We already have that a bit because you can flag meetings in Carv as a interview and intake or a general meeting, and a general meeting could be a client meeting, for example. But in the integration play, it could also be that Carv flags the client as an entity, and that we can connect clients to candidates. That's definitely possible. I expect that to happen. It's not possible now, but I do think that is a relatively small step for our teams. And as we see our agency clients growing, it could definitely be a case that we expose or we build those features on the sales side. But it will always be in the context of recruitment, not like general sales pipeline features. Or there are great CRMs that are great at that, and they will win in that space, not Carv.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And it's great that you're supplying a service that you think is suitable for agency recruiters as well as in-house component. Just from your sales point of view, which side is kind of easier to sell into? Would you say, like, who seems to be more excited about this type of automation? Do you get an intuition there?
Sure. I think the answer is agencies are always faster with adopting new technologies. They are also less sticky because they want to try things to improve the bottom line. If you're an in-house recruiting team, your KPI is to make hires for the organization. If you hit 80%, well, the company wouldn't go down. Probably you have your manager will not be happy, but on the bottom line, the impact is not that directly visible. If you are as an agency performing at 80% of your number, you probably don't make money. So that's why they are always faster with trying new things. That's what we now see. Agencies immediately adopt AI and embrace it really quickly. So I do think on the short term, there's a lot of push in the agency space to make moves. However, the in-house teams that are becoming Carv client now are usually more the early movers. But we can solve fundamental problems for in-house teams in internal communication. The relationship between recruiting and the business is always a problem, and the reason why it's a problem is because there is bad transfer of information. And that problem is completely solved with AI. However, it's not a problem that is immediately visible on the bottom line of the business. So I expect short-term agencies will go much faster in adoption. However, in-house teams will come and then they will see how it's impacting their teams, and then they will take over that. Absolutely. With Carv with Harvard was the same. The big agencies were our first clients, Randstad, the big ones. But 2-3 years later, it was 90% corporate.
Yeah, that really chimes with my sort of experience also, just in terms of the agency recruiters are always trying to get an edge. The quick adopter in terms of adoption, quick experimenters, probably a little bit less concerned also about things like compliance. They want to give it a shot and then see what happens. And then, of course, in-house, they're just heavier weight. There's more of a bureaucracy there that you have to navigate. And they tend to already be a little bit more technical in terms of the more heavier weight purchasing that they've already made. So the thing that they then buy needs to be integrated and so forth. So very interesting to see the ramp up, ramp down sort of kind of vision of how this works. Final question: US is going to be a big part of the plan. What is the key to success in securing the US market from a European tech entrepreneur that's done it before? What worked for Harvard last time? What do you think is going to work for Carv this time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I first think you should go and do it, because a lot of European companies just see US as a too big of a step. And it is a big step because it's a complicated market. We are actually lucky that we come from the Netherlands, because the Netherlands is a very tough market. There are many global companies that test their product in the Netherlands first, because they know if it succeeds there, we probably have a high chance of success to succeed in other places as well. So I think that the Netherlands is actually a great learning environment to be ready for the US. That's why I'm not really afraid to go. The biggest success indicator, I think, for the US, same with Harvard, is that you need to be able to show ROI really quickly. It's about results. It's not about, you can have a nice vision, you can have a nice idea, but if someone buys your product and you're not able to show ROI quickly, they will just churn you. They churn. They will go away and they will try something else, especially in the agency space. So we are now, with the first year of learnings, I'm ready to show to the market, hey, we prove ROI, we have bigger US customers, so I'm ready for the market. And you need funding, obviously. But those things go hand in hand. If your customer base grows, you have good growth metrics, you can raise money and you can open new markets. And yeah, that's how we will do it again. Same with Harvard.
Yeah, I love the confidence, Matthijs, and I think quite right. The Netherlands does have a justified reputation for being early adopters with technology. I think also from a recruiting context, the recruiting culture in the Netherlands is very, very advanced. Great that you're coming from the Netherlands with that attitude and be able to get into the US marketplace. I've just come from the US, by the way, and like every sort of country, there's going to be certain companies that are completely elite, well advanced, but then you'll find other companies that are surprisingly behind the curve, like way behind several curves, actually. So the opportunity there is certainly available for European entrepreneurs. Matthijs, we're coming to the end of this conversation. It's been wonderful having a chat with you. I'm sure we could continue having another hour's worth of deep dives into all of this. But let me ask a final question for you. In the busy life of a founder of a burgeoning startup, what other exciting things have you got to do after this call? What's on the next item on the calendar of the founder of Carv?
Well, today or
yeah.
Okay, well, tonight, actually, my business partner has moved to Barcelona. And he just lands in Amsterdam this afternoon. And tonight we are having a dinner together with everyone who leads the team here. And then we are going to discuss the strategic topics for the new year. So I'm preparing that after this call. And then I hope tonight we have a first kickstart of our plan for 2025.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great event and a good way to get people together and get prepped for the big year ahead. Matthijs, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing some time with us. I'm very conscious of the fact that 1 hour's time of a founder of a startup is not a cheap spend of time. So I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing more great things out of you and Carv in 2025. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Matthijs.
It's a pleasure, Han. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Matthijs Metzemaekers, CEO of Carv, folks. What an inspirational guy. I love speaking to Matthijs. Do check it out, carv.com. By the way, you might encounter them sort of via your ATS in any case. But I think that conversation closes the series of Founders Focus for this year. I think we've done about 25 conversations with CEOs in 2024. We're going to continue rolling this series forward. I think it's a very important thing for us to continue to do, to have conversations of this type. If you have enjoyed it, please do follow the channel. We do this, I hope, every week. Hopefully we can do the same cadence in 2025. And of course, we're part of the Bring Food Live series also. So we'll be back on Friday talking about sustainable hiring in healthcare. Make sure you follow that if you're interested in that particular segment. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everyone.